by you, your presence, and opening up your word to read what you have to tell us in this amazing part of the Bible. We thank you for the opportunity to do it. We thank you so much for the people that are here, and we ask that you bless us as we allow this to transform us and find ways for it to be shared with other people. Pray these things in your name. Amen. Okay. Well, welcome. Let's go to Romans chapter 6. We're just reading 3 verses. Not a very long chapter, but we're going to kind of break it up into just different sections here. And I try to kind of streamline it, see how that works for us. Okay, volunteers, anybody willing to start reading?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
What shall we say then? Shall we go on sinning so that grace may increase?
Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it?
Verse 3.
Yeah, you can skip me. I haven't got
I'll skip you. Who's got it? You got it, Josh?
Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ were baptized into his death?
Very good. Okay, thank you. So, what do we get? I mean, it's kind of strange what he says here, right? Are we ready to assume some stuff about the Romans that he would have to say this? Or, because it seems ridiculous, right? Like, nobody in their right mind with any kind of inkling of a justice system in their head would say that, would they?
No.
Hey, this grace thing is great. This amazing gift from God is great. Let's keep going so we can get more of that grace. That's what he's saying, right? Like, let's keep it going so that we can get more grace. Right? So it's a ridiculous statement. Is there a possibility that people were thinking like that for him to have said it? Because, we can't rule out like every possibility. Is there a possibility that people were actually thinking like that?
I think it becomes an incentive at that point.
An incentive?
Yeah.
Oh, some people are just like, ooh,
That can be bad because
blank check?
Get more grace.
Blank check. Okay. Well, maybe that's right now, because right now we have some denominational offshoots that say, they don't say it outright, but like they'll share it. Like, have you ever heard that phrase, once saved, always saved? Yeah. And so for some that's a real problematic thing to think of, to confine to the way we look at these things. So how are you all taking this, just off the bat? If you have to summarize it. I mean, I know I have a summary there for you guys kind of towards the end of the section that we do after verse 3. But if you had to just summarize verse 1, how would you look at that?
It sounds facetious to me.
Facetious. Explain that to everybody, just in case people don't know that amazing word, which I actually use quite a bit.
It's kind of like, a satire.
Okay.
Or so we're supposed to just go ahead and keep on sinning.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
Okay, very good. And there's people that have actually done this kind of recently. There's a Russian monk in the early part of the 20th century. So it's just like, I don't know if Russia was what it was back then, but there was a monk there, I think Eastern Orthodox, and he fully believed in the idea that salvation actually came through repeated experiences of sin and repentance. So you had to experience certain things, and you had to experience repentance and stuff like that.
Was this an excuse to do what he wanted to do?
That's immediately where my twisted brain goes. I'm not calling your brain twisted, just saying my brain's twisted. I'm just like, whenever I run into the carte blanche, the blank check, the freebie situation, I'm like, ooh. In fact, I even take it further. And I have shared this with countless people, and now I'm exposing myself to probably more. Is whenever somebody tells me, they're like, "Well, I need to step back and just re-examine all of the doctrines, all of the things that I believe," and like my brain immediately goes like, "All right, which one of those is super inconvenient that you're trying to like fit into your whole cycle so that you can like totally justify something that you couldn't justify before?" And I'll be honest, there are times where people experience quote unquote truth, experience quote unquote doctrine, experience quote unquote teachings without it actually coming from a place where they've actually experienced true grace, or they've actually seen what the actual core of the beliefs are, and all they've experienced is just oppression from people who supposedly have had a grace-filled experience. But if they've never had it, then it just feels oppressive. And so they're just constantly trying, because I was like one of those kids, and I'm sure as a lady that's worked in dorms and stuff like that, people that are just like, if you tell them no, they're just gonna be like, "Oh, that's exactly what I need to do. That's what I want to do." Right? Like, I was one of those kids. You told me no, I'm like, why? I was like, for everybody, I kind of am the exception, like, okay, so you know some people like that. Okay, very good. So I'm not, way out there. So, in the previous chapter, right? In the previous chapter, what do we see in Romans chapter 5, verse 20, right? When the law came in verse 20, it says the law entered so that the offense might.
Sinner could see what they were.
Right, but where sin abounded, grace abounded even more. So it's a contrast to that, right? So we have a reference to what's being said here. It's important because people will make that argument. Hey, if God loves sinners, then why worry about sin? Right? He loves sinners. That's our condition. We can't really get out of it. There was only one sinless man. Like you can, if you really just dwell on it, you can start like coming up with all sorts of fun little excuses for all sorts of fun things. Right?
I like your key word though, excuses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now when I disagree with my wife, I've started using this fun little phrase, and I don't know how ethically okay this is, and maybe this is an accountability thing for me. And it's like, hey, listen, before you say anything, let me just give you an explanation as to why some of the things that are happening. This is not an excuse, it's an explanation, right? But
Your
it's like,
wife is a saint.
Agreed, right? And I'm not excusing it, I'm giving an explanation. I just want you to understand contextually my perspective about why my foot is this muddy,
In theory, that's very appropriate.
Okay, very good. But you're making some assumptions about my intentions.
Ditto.
Okay, very good. So that's
As you.
confirmed. Okay. So, this is one of those places where you've got to look at the rest of the biblical narrative and say to yourself, all right, is he being facetious? Is he just creating something? Because verse 1 right there that we just read is telling us what? Is it telling the answer to the question? No, we have to get to verse 2, right? And the first two words, at least in most versions that are... Of course not. That's 3 words.
Yeah,
Certainly not. Come on! Come on, people. Let's get it together. It's what Paul is saying, right? So some versions say by no means. Some other ones, may it never be. So it's not just 2 words, but it's a few words, and he's like, of course not. Of course not. We're saying this. We're not saying this at all. So the rest of the Bible is just chock full of areas where limitations are being given to God's people, right? we could make the argument, a very strong argument, I think a certain argument, that it's for their own good. Yes? Right? When you see God's methodology for law, for the mirror, as we called it in the previous lessons, right? It's for improvement. Whether or not you follow that, I mean, you have complete agency to not. Yeah?
Yeah, I think if there was no grace for sin, then you go down the path of more sin, because
Yeah.
now I can never get the grace.
Very good. Would somebody be interested in going to probably one of the shortest books in the Bible called Jude? It's right behind Revelation. And somebody read verse 4. Verse 4. See what you got for us today.
You don't mind if it's before Revelation instead of behind it?
Whatever floats your boat. If you really need to say it that way, I mean, you do you, lady. It's nice. I like it. Did I say it wrong? How am I supposed to say it?
It comes before Revelation, not behind it. Behind it is after.
Behind it is after? All right, I'm not gonna try to think about it too much. It makes sense in my head.
Jude what?
It's just verse 4. It's just verse 4. I love it.
I say this because some godless people have wormed their way in among you, saying that God's forgiveness allows us to live immoral lives. The fate of such people was determined long ago, for they have turned against our only Master and Lord, Jesus Christ.
Okay. So kind of similar to what we read here, or at least capitalizing, I think, maybe on verse 2, right? It's just saying there's some people that are, so there is indication that people at the time were kind of going in that direction. And it's, I would say, in its own twisted way, it's pretty logical. It's pretty logical if you have it explained to you and you don't have any other point of reference for law or anything else like that. Yeah.
In using your explanation figure, my
Yeah.
text says, of course not. Since we have died to sin,
Mm-hmm.
how can we continue to live in it?
Right. Right.
I mean, if you're dead to it, then you can't live in it, right?
Right. And that's where other people go in different directions. It's like, well, they're hoping for that moment where, well, that magic happens. I'm truly dead to it now. Yeah, I don't want it anymore. Right? Every single person at AA is chasing that, right? Every person who's had
breathing is
Huh?
every person's breathing is chasing that.
Yeah, I mean, like I have experienced freedom in certain aspects of my life, and I'm very grateful for that. And then if I think about it too long, I get a little iffy about it because, like, well, I think that's because I got married. Well, that's because I changed cars. That's because well, I can't do it anymore. Like I physically can't do that anymore. You know.
Ride skateboards and-
Huh? No, I can't do that.
So
I
if
can
there
do
wasn't
that.
the barrier, you would still be that person.
No, and that's what I get nervous about. I get nervous about it because I'm like, did I really stop? Or is it just like, it's kind of like that question when you think back to the antediluvians, the people before the flood, who are living several centuries. Imagine holding out your teenager, your 20s, for a couple centuries. You just feel invincible for like, I don't know how long, right? Like, there's a reason why that chunk of humanity's history says, and every thought was continually towards evil, right? Even if people were contributors to society or were doing incredible accomplishments and things like that, if I stop to think about it, if you think about an 80 or an 90-year-old who is full of wisdom and experience and everything else, and you once again took away all of physical limitations, what would happen? Because there are.
Skateboarding.
Huh? You'd be skateboarding. Sweet. Sign me up. I'm still there. I'm still there for now. Like, but there are things that I'm, like you're making choices that are self-limiting, but I don't think they're always attached to God.
I'm just thinking, I have lot of physical limitations.
Sure.
And I can hardly wait to get to heaven
Amen.
so that I can run and not, I mean,
Sure.
there's some physical things that I'm really looking forward to being able to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ever since I've had a minivan, I get way less, speeding tickets. Like way less. When I had a 6-speed, I don't know how many horsepower, just modded Honda Civic Si, almost lost my license twice, so, huh?
I think we know.
We know, yeah. Oh yeah, I did tell you that story that I can't tell on here. I got close. I got super close. So part of me is like, what kind of freedom are we getting from God when it comes to grace? Because obviously, when we read Jude 4 there's people that are interpreting it that way. Well, if I am truly dead, and I think you're quoting back to Romans, right? Like that's the one that you were quoting.
Right. 6,
verse 2. So that quote right there, it's just like, well, we're dead to sin. And I have friends that are 100% on that boat. Now that I have been freed from sin, from Christ, I am dead to sin. I no longer sin that way. I've been given total freedom. And part of me is like, you better have a plan B. Like, I don't know. I've interacted with humanity long enough to know that, I don't know, man. It's tough. Well, if you set up a really good accountability circle, but there is something to their argument, I would say. Wouldn't you say? Like, if you've truly given your life to Jesus and Jesus has completely invaded your life, shouldn't there be a freedom that grace provides?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
if you have truly, but in our humanness, we usually don't. We keep something back. We keep fighting to keep something back.
I'm with you. Okay, very good.
That song, Jesus Take the Wheel, but let me control the gas pedal.
Okay. So, are there any modern Christian attitudes? So let's fast forward past the earliest 20th century, past the first century when these things are being quoted, right? Are there any modern Christian attitudes that kind of do this grace abounds thing that you can think of? Like currently today, that people just like rightfully look at it and they're like, well, it'll be okay. I mean, it's fine. God forgives me, right? It's not, I can't be worrying about all of it.
I think of things like when you know that you have a sickness or a disease. If you know you're diabetic and you know what makes your blood pressure go up, and you say, oh, well, I'll just take insulin to cover it. It's kind of like saying, oh, well, God's going to cover it anyway. And it's like that the damage is being done just because you're not following up with what you need to follow up.
Kind of talking about that before we hit live, right? Like, it's tough. I don't know what to do with that, right? I can point a person back to Romans 6 and say, but then we're immediately attaching sinfulness to being diabetic, right? And then the type 2 diabetic, sorry. Type 1 is, I'm okay with that one. But at the same time, it still applies. I think it still applies, right? But it's tough. It's a tough situation because then you're attaching personal responsibility to a health issue to sin. And we know, for those of you that have been long enough in church, the kind of damage that ends up doing, right? When you place that guilt and all these other things.
Let's not look at it as placing guilt, but placing accountability. Whether it is taking care of our bodies, whether it is keeping the commandments of God, whether it's loving our neighbor, whether it's honoring our parents, whatever it is, there are still things that we are accountable for.
Yeah.
And it's not what's going to save us. It is a consequence of the choices we make.
Yeah.
We're choosing to follow God. There's consequences. There's works to show that we are.
Okay.
And so it's not what's saving us, it's what's showing that we are saved.
Very good. Go ahead.
Or fruits.
Fruits?
Yeah.
Would it be an appropriate thing to say that then the actual conversation we need to be having is about motivation?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you see a yard that is pristine shape and you're walking by and you see some garbage, one piece of garbage that's visible, that's obvious, what, are you gonna pick it up? If you're gonna pick it up, why? Are you gonna pick it up because there's somebody that you're trying to impress that's walking by and they'll see you?
That's a good
Are you
illustration.
trying to pick it up, are you gonna pick it up because you don't like the unsightliness and the rest of the yard looks nice? Are you, what's your motivation behind it?
Right. But if the yard's full of trash, your motivation changes.
Unfortunately, a lot of times it does.
Okay. Very good.
So
It's kind of like, where do you start?
is there an assumption though that, if I read this right, you'd have to be a believer, right?
Oh, 100%.
So somebody who's a non-believer, proclaimed non-believer, 'cause
Right.
you really don't know. Maybe
Right.
they say that just to be cool or whatever it is,
Right.
So Dilbert,
Yeah.
Craig Dilbert.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Scott, I can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
He ran up to the last hour. Was it the 11th hour, they say?
Yeah.
And then decided he was gonna proclaim, and how does that tie in with this? Do you think all along he's saying, oh, maybe there's something there,
Where is grace still available? The bottom line question is grace still available to him?
or, well, for a believer, yes.
Yeah.
If you're a believer, right, you'd say yes.
Right.
We don't know what motivates people.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, like, maybe this is pointed towards just people who say they believe. I don't know.
But, I mean, the thief on the cross, we don't know what
Yeah.
motivated him to decide to say,
He was impressed by Jesus.
right, but I
He
mean,
was.
it could have been, and I think I think we're given that
Like a what if?
flamboyantly because Christ said, you know what, you're gonna be with me in paradise.
Okay.
And, but the rest of us, I think it's judging when we say, well, you're doing that because you have really no idea.
Okay.
And that's between the person that's motivated,
Right. And
sometimes our motivations are right and sometimes they're not.
the worldview of that particular author was just overtly cynical about everything all the time, right? And so when you're just like processing that 24/7, it's a really hard sell. It's a really hard sell for the heart to do that. And so motivation, I would say, yeah, his motivation was probably taxed. His motivation for doing good, because I think that's the not the salvation thing, but the life enrichment process that happens from accepting salvation, because the transformation that takes place, if you wholeheartedly take it in and you say, wow, this is going to become part of my life, and it starts to bear fruit, like Marty said, right? Like if it starts to bear fruit, guess what? Quality of life in terms of peace of mind, peace of heart, and what you end up bringing to the world dramatically improves.
Your fruits improve.
Oh yeah, but and that is a life improvement plan. That is a life improvement plan. Now, if you're making the choice, and I just think that quality of life, that improvement plan, doesn't exist in that scenario, right? Because if you're waiting until the 11th hour,
There was cynicism in his
of
life.
course. So, thankfully, we don't have to justify that, figure out if he's condemned or not. We don't know. That's not our business. It never should be. We're allowed to wonder. We're allowed to doubt. We're allowed to all of those other things, right? Because we have freedom of choice. But we do need to get to the place where we urge people to consider a Christ-like life. Because, not just because of the benefits. I would never pitch the benefits right off the bat, right? I would say, hey, be embraced, be hugged, feel something that you didn't feel before, right? That's the first one. And then we can get like, hey, would you like to keep feeling that? Like, there's a formula to that. Like, there's actually a formula to allowing God to help you feel that way in perpetuity. right? Even after you get mad, even after you get frustrated, even if you fall back to some of the things that you were doing. But a person that just like, they have an ideal that don't, that they assume everybody else has deep down inside and are going to continue pointing out the flaws of humanity. Yeah, that's a hard cookie.
Well, I think the pleasure knowing that he actually, I'm on the positive side of
Yeah,
that rather than
absolutely,
oh,
absolutely.
Can't wait till the last minute and do that. That's not fair.
Well, Jesus has a parable about that, right? The people that get paid the same no matter when they start working,
Yeah,
right? He has a parable about that.
yeah. I would take the okay, good deal. I'm glad you did that rather than oh, too late, buddy.
And he has a parable about the attitude, about how we look at that, which I would say is paramount for us to look at, called the prodigal son, which is wrongly named, in my opinion. It should not be called the prodigal son. It should be called the prodigal sons, right? Because they both were mad at the father. One just way longer than the other,
One was maybe under his breath, or the other one was
Which was worse?
like the son that decided, the father said, go work in the field, and the son goes, no, okay, I will, and doesn't, and then the son that
Right.
says, no, I'm not gonna, and then goes and does it.
Very good. Very good. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. Okay. So, we can't use grace as an excuse. This is established here, right? It can never be used as an excuse. It's a gift. And gifts can be spoiled. Gifts can be lost. Gifts can be stolen. Gifts can be broken. Yes? Yeah. Okay. So I'm fine applying that analogy to the gift of grace. Okay. So we move to verse 2 there in our conversation there. We've already kind of hit it there. And so Paul's responding with that moral shock, right? There's a moral shock. Certainly not, right? He's establishing an important principle. When we're born again, we believe in Jesus for what? What's the purpose of belief in Jesus? What does the Bible tell us?
Salvation.
Thank you. Absolutely. We believe in him for salvation. And at that point, if we are saved, what are we saved from?
Sin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually death. Right? We talked about the problem with Genesis 2 and then Genesis 3. On the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. No, eventually you die, and eventually you get eternal life. So what changes if you are truly saved? What needs to begin to change? Because if you've accepted salvation from Jesus, you've accepted something that fundamentally alters your relationship to him and with him, right? If you've accepted salvation, you've accepted something that alters relationship. If I've accepted a proposition from my wife for us to become spouses, right? Like we are accepting a fundamental change to our relationship. Yeah, we're accepting a relationship. And then within that relationship, I have to struggle. I have to continue from a place of love to modify or ask for help in modification, right? To make sure that what? My life continues to modify itself so that I can love her or I can love the other person more completely, right? A friendship, some people, what do people value from friendships? The friendships that last the longest. What do we value from them? Ironically.
We can be ourselves,
We can be ourselves.
and we accept them as themselves.
Very good. But a true friend, do they let them stay themselves if there is a self-destructive thing
No,
happening?
they encourage them to.
So there is some change, but every time you hear about it from people, people are saying, wow, I can just depend on this person. This person's always, man, they're my rock. They're my this, I can always count on them. But I don't know about you guys, but my closest friends let me have it all the time and with no. And, that's why I don't have that many friends. because I start giving it to them before we're like, our friendship has reached actual friendship. You know, like, I've made that mistake so many times. But like, no, they go for it, right? Like, they're not shy. They're not shy about telling you what's up. I don't know. Is that true, or is it real?
They love you for who you are, but love you enough not to let you stay there. And
Oh.
that's the way Christ is with
Very
us.
nice. I feel like it's not copyrighted to you, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay, good. I think I saw that somewhere. But that's a great one. That's a great liner right there, right?
Well, your explanation under Romans 6:2 is that to be dead to sin means sin no longer defines identity or authority. This is not sinlessness, but a transfer of lordship within the great controversy between Jesus and sin.
Correct.
It's who our leader is.
And to be fair, and to everybody out there, in Romans chapter 6, verse 2, Paul has not done a great job so far at telling us what being dead to sin is. Not yet. Right? We're going to get there. We're going to get there, but like he's just introducing it now. So if we're guessing, just in case you don't have it all like locked down and what it means to be dead to sin, what does that mean? Because if we just confine it to these 3 verses, we're
Well, my subtitle
How do we explain
for
it?
Romans 6 says
Okay.
freedom from sin's grasp.
okay.
So it's taking us out of the mud pit and putting us on dry land, and we're still filthy dirty, we're still muddy, but we have the grace of cleanliness. They have the grace of a firm foundation. We have the
I choose Team Jesus. Okay. And then the motivation keeps going because like, hey, you ever been with teammates and they're not pulling their weight? Like, how quickly do we get on their case? It's like, hey, kind of doing a detriment to the cause here. You know, it's like, for those of you, how many of you have ever played sports and you get back into a huddle and it's clearly somebody's fault, right? And nobody's saying anything, but everybody's like, all right, guys, we really need to pull it together in this particular part of defense. And nobody's saying anything. And then like, if there's repeated offenses, every single like, I don't want to point fingers, you're a problem. You're a real problem. How quickly does it take, right? It doesn't take that many times, and eventually it just gets like, or the passive aggressive ones. So like some people, then we might be getting back to Dilbert status, right? Like that cynical passive aggressive thing, Very, very interesting. So what do we want people to know about this dead to sin? What does it look like in everyday decision making? Like if you had to describe it to people, hey, this person's truly dead to sin, like and how does it affect the day-to-day choices or decision making in general?
Think before you act in making wise choices.
They slow things down. They're not as impulsive. Okay.
Well, to me, it's the guy where I hear the decision to not say the smart aleck thing back, where I'm sitting there saying, "Oh man, I would tell that guy this." And that.
Yeah.
So that to me is like, I wish I could do that more often and turn in the cheek, I guess, and not
I'm with you, brother.
come back with the line.
I've shared it more than a couple times where I'm like, man, that is not my spiritual gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I enjoy it so very much.
Because for you not to do that, you walk off feeling defeated when you're actually the
I
winner.
told you. Like, I told you. It's so bad that at home I get to hear the pre-qualifying phrase. All right, you don't have to say I told you, right? Like that phrase gets said to me by people of multiple ages. So, I know. Yes. All right. The squinting's not helping, but. Any other examples? So there's a hole being bored through my temple. So like, any actual examples of like being dead to sin, besides what she gave or what we're making fun of here?
I think that thinking the better of people instead of the negativisms.
All right.
I think, and when you hear the negativisms, to not repeat it to the best of your ability. I think it's probably one of the more difficult things.
Kerosene to the fire.
But turn around and to remind people that there may be other circumstances that we don't understand.
Okay. So once again, I think we're seeing a common theme here from you guys as time, how we're processing, we're using our time when we interact with either our personal choices or the choices of other people. Am I summarizing that fairly good with what everybody's said? Okay, very good. Well, I'll keep trying. Because a baby, when it's born, it is not a patient being, right? The baby is just like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm dirty, I'm uncomfortable, I'm tired, right? And it has to be dealt with, or else you're going to get, right? Pretty soon you reach 2 years of age, maybe to 2 to 4 years of age, and then you have to incorporate the share concept, right? Ooh, am I going to share? And so there's a slowdown. For a person to share, they have to like stop and be like, you want? Mine? Yours? Ours? You know? And then after that, you go and you start to negotiate friend, right? You say friend. Who's my friend? And that requires a little bit more of a slowdown. It was like, oh, because you have to consider a lot of factors, right? As to who's going to become a friend. Now, they're still very trusting and it can still choose friends very impulsively. Well, I just like that person. Oh, they were funny at one time. Well, that doesn't make them a good friend. The entire time. Right, and then the next stage is you're considering romantic friend, right? Or something where you're just giving even more. And that requires a certain load of patience. Every single time you're letting go of what I like to call the concentric circles of selfishness, right? You're letting go of another layer, right? And then then comes romantic sexual love. That's a whole other thing. Then you have children. That's a whole other thing, right? And some people, they're stuck at earlier circles, but they keep going past these life events, but they're still stuck at the stage of like, well, you're essentially 14, right? But I'm talking to a 41-year-old, right? But you're 41, but like the way you're
Making
emotionally
14-year-old
reacting,
choices.
right? And so it's impulsive, right? So that could be attached to maturity, and psychology has made an entire career. There's dissertations, books, and all sorts of things written about how to help a person pass trauma, nurture learning experiences, wisdom, and stuff like that to help you, because there's ways to get to this process that we just insinuated about your reasons that you guys gave without God. Wouldn't you say? There's ways to like cognitively, logically, rationally look at it and be like, hey, we got to let go of ourselves because we need the village to prosper. We need society to function as a whole. And so mainly when you see things happening in our everyday, whether it comes to social events, geopolitical issues and things like that, that's mainly the argument that you will see out on the social circles, right? Most people are not talking about it from a God perspective, which actually would solve a dramatically higher amount of issues, but we're just talking about it from just the logical, the rational perspective. And it's a little bit more than that in terms of responsive love. Jesus asked us to be known by our love and how we love each other. We have a tough time with that. We have a tough time with that. Very good, very good. Okay. I don't want to keep going unless anybody else has has an opportunity to maybe share how we might show dead to sin Like, what does that practically look like? Anybody else?
How about looking at it from the perspective of being alive in God instead of dead to sin?
Yeah, alive in God. That's a very lofty, high concept. It took me forever. I get it, but like for me, it took me forever to get that one. Still, from time to time, I'll just go back and be like, alive with God. Okay, yeah.
It's just looking at it from the positive angle. You know, we don't want to be dead.
Yeah.
We want to be alive, and so if we're alive in a positive way instead of dead in a negative way, it's just a different perspective of looking at the same thing with a positive twist instead of.
There are common sins that I go back to, or that I'm tempted by, where I fully know they're stupid. This is a stupid thing to do. I should not do this stupid thing. And so I've experienced freedom or dead to sinness when my knowledge of the stupidity was enhanced by also being disgusted by it. And only then did I experience, I was like, oh man, I'm actually disgusted by this. And like, it really attached itself to my emotions. It attached itself to like, or causing other people pain. That one's rough, right? And I truly, there was another layer or another level, I don't want to call it level, another layer, right? Where I truly, I would say it's the husband or the wife of what you just said, which is like, I feel the oneness with God, the abiding with God, the living with God thing, it hurts me to know that this hurts God, right? Because it's one thing with people, and it's another layer to be like, this actually hurts God, and I'm keenly aware of how it's hurting God.
I mean, we can take it one step farther. Is
Yeah.
that every time we're sinning, are we re-nailing Christ to the cross? You know, if you want to really get the visualization
Oh.
of what.
Some people are really nervous by what you said. It makes them nervous, but I'm with you. I agree with that.
And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that everybody needs that, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that everybody should have it. But if I were to think, oh, it doesn't matter if I just steal this thing, it doesn't matter, nobody's gonna know, it's only a whatever.
This is a victimless crime. You know, have you ever heard
And
that?
it's like, oh, wait. If I'm stealing, I'm going directly against one of the 10 Commandments.
Right.
That means I'm re-nailing Christ to the cross.
Right.
Okay, I don't need that.
The bank robbers, it's like, well, this is insured, so it's fine, right? Nobody's really losing. I'm not taking anybody's life savings, right? And you know, this self-just, I don't do that with physical things anymore. I used to be a bit of a klepto, but like my final frontier is online, because if you want, everything's free online. Like just anything that's electronic, I can get it for free, you know, like, and it's hard. It's a really hard thing, because I'm like, I look at their stock options and everything, they're doing fine. I don't think I'm hurting their overhead at all. Those CEOs are still, you know, blah, 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 right? Just recently, there was a guy that just shot one of those healthcare or insurance, you know, health insurance, you know, bigwigs, and he felt, you read his interviews and stuff like that, completely justified. Just fine. I murdered somebody in cold blood, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I was actually meant, and became the hero to a bunch of people. Wow. Right? Also, the person that he murdered, terrible human being, at least, you know, from the perspective of all the people that are suffering. It's terrible. So it's a complicated world we live in, right? So I think it's important for us to find ways to motivate people to get to that place of like, hey, what does it look like for you to be dead to sin in whatever area in your life you struggle? Because do we all struggle the same way? Huh?
I think.
With sin, yes.
Yes, with
As
sin.
an umbrella term,
Yes.
but like the same sin?
No.
Oh, we sin dramatically different from each other, right? We can start getting into subsections. Men, we all struggle in certain very particular ways. We can get along with each other. Ladies, I don't know how you guys struggle. You guys are interesting. Interesting is the best word I can use here. All right?
We are unique.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then, that dynamic of men trying to tell women, as a blanket statement, well, this is the sin you guys struggle with. It's like, oh, you just messed up, dude. What did you just do, right? Or a lady is like, well, guys are just blah, blah, blah. We have a hard time. So the appeal then becomes, hey, can we remind ourselves and maybe communicate to other people, hey, identify the dead to sin area that, or the feelings of what it feels like to be dead to sin. Because they're far and few between. If people are really being honest and open about their lives, it's few and far between the moments where they're like, hey, I'm going to think about this. I'm going to try to isolate that. I'm going to chase that. For me, it's a high. It's a clean high where I'm like, wow, I have been given freedom by God in this area. This is awesome. This is great, right? The problem is the guilt cycle that people have when they've felt that feeling and they've gone back, right? They enter into a weird guilt cycle. And we're going to get to that in other verses of this chapter a little bit later, and Romans 7. I'm not trying to blast through this so that we can get to one of my favorite chapters, but verse 3, right? Do you not know that as many of us were baptized into Jesus, were baptized into his death? Right? How many people get baptized and fully understand that? Is it a good percentage? Huh?
Probably not.
Probably not. So that's a huge struggle for me as a pastor, because I will plainly say it to people, and then I'm in the baptistry with them, and I'm like, I don't think they got it.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Because we are not perfect and mature and all-knowing and all whatever when we're baptized. That's not what baptism is about.
Yeah.
Baptism is saying, I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
And I believe that God loves me and has sacrificed his life for me.
A phrase I've been using lately is, hey, if you're going to get baptized, can you commit to celebrate publicly? Because this is public, right?
Yep.
Ideally, it's public. Some people like it private. Some people have like agoraphobia and, hydrophobia and a whole bunch of other things, phobia, or like people phobia or whatever. And I respect what they're doing. But hey, can you commit publicly to celebrate this amazing thing that you've chosen, this amazing union that you've had with Christ? And then I follow it up with, hey, can you commit to publicly commit to struggle with your faith with everybody else? Just because I don't want any rug pulling or bait and switch. It's gonna be a struggle. Can you commit to doing it publicly, because that's where accountability comes from. Right? And essentially, that's why I push it so much. Even to people with the phobias, I'm like, hey, really, please, I beg you, consider the public version of this. Like, please.
That's the accountability.
Well, right. Are you going to become one with this community? Are you going to try, no matter whether or not all of them got it at that point or not? That's the spicy, and sometimes very hurtful part of church. Because depending who prepared who for what, or what part of actual grace they understood, or
I think when you start looking at everybody else in the church, you're setting yourself up to leave the church, because the church is full of sinners, and the church is full of people who are struggling to keep the connection with Christ and to keep being dead to self
right.
and living in God.
One thing you gotta realize, the church is a hospital for sinners.
Yeah.
We're all in different phases in our walk with Jesus.
Do you guys like that Old Testament reference in verse 3? that's such a great thing. Like when you share it with people, I think that's such an important little thing for people to get, right? When God delivers, he offers them salvation from the Egyptians. He makes them pass through what? Through the waters, right? Did they immediately become this pristine, awesome nation that always did everything right?
Yeah, sure.
Dude.
40 years to get in the right direction.
Yeah,
And even then,
out in the desert.
depending on who was in charge, like, yikes, right? So it's important to remember that. I think that's a great thing to highlight when, because anybody here can lead somebody to Jesus. I fully believe that. Absolutely, everybody here can lead somebody to Jesus and can actually be instrumental in baptism or even stand in the waters with me in baptism to baptize another person. Why? Because of this fact right here. It's like, yes, we've experienced the salvation experience. Wasn't it an amazing salvation experience? Did they sing songs? Did they sing? Oh man, it was very, it's very exciting. But did the troubles end there?
That's kind of like when the troubles really started, because it was kind of like we saw who we were in the mirror.
Yes.
And we could really see what we were fighting.
Yeah, so Galatians 3:27, very important verse. If you haven't highlighted that in your Bible, please do. Colossians 2:12. That's another one I read to people all the time when they're being prepped for baptism. So it's on the next page, Marty. Yeah, just on the next page where I'm looking at the cross references for verse 3. Right, I repeat it to people. Yeah, buried with Christ, alive with Christ. Right, like there's even the motion of baptism and all these other things. But there's a question there that I think we have a little bit of time to struggle with. Question 2: what old allegiances does baptism publicly renounce? Because there's people that get stuck there because they're like, well, I have to let go of this, I have to let go of that, I have to do this and that. We did a lot of damage for many decades to people that we told, well, you can't get baptized unless you quit this, unless you do this, you do that. And sometimes that's a good thing, right? Like creating an ultimatum moment for a person that's really damaging their life. You gave that example of the diabetes thing, right? Where you take that as an opportunity. But is that so? Open-mindedly, objectively, ethically sound, just consider this question. What old allegiances, without, just giving hard rules, but what old allegiances does baptism publicly renounce? Is it last 6 commandment stuff or first 4 commandment stuff? And what can you expect from people in terms of that? I'm having a Bible study right now where we're going to get to some of the Bible studies, and it's going to be tough because I'm going to ask some very pointed questions. And I know that either I'm going to get lied to or I might lose the Bible study. Right? Because it is a life improvement situation, right? So I'll let it lie pregnant there and let you guys kind of like sort that out. What do you guys think? Old allegiances. What do we? Notice I'm not saying commandments. Notice I'm not saying rules. Notice I'm not saying lifestyles. Just allegiance. The word allegiance. Are we all clear on what the word allegiance means? I pledge the allegiance to the flag, right? I'd struggle
Who we
with that.
want to honor. Who are we trying to?
Thank you. Okay, very good. So let's ask the question again. What old allegiances need to be left behind?
Your own sinful nature.
That's a huge one. We're going to get to Romans 7, and we're going to see that Paul had a tough time with that one too. All right, but I agree. Ideally, top tier, absolutely, old nature. And I want to say that, and that's where some of my friends, some of my colleagues, and we struggle, because there's some that it's like, yeah, you can fully leave that behind, and you can just live as a new person.
It's tough, but you can do it.
Okay.
Probably judgment for me would be
Yeah.
one of my biggest things.
But is that going to happen? Immediate, like the waters of baptism.
By incident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I've got a pensive frown over there from Marty. Means that the gears are working. What's going on?
Grinding,
What are you grinding on?
just thinking.
For me, it was impulse control. Like I was just, like that child thing that I was talking about, as we grow, like I got baptized and I was just like, I was super obsessed with that. That I'm just gonna let go of these particular impulses that I have. I didn't. But like, I think those fell off when I discovered that thing, when I finally got converted decades later.
When was you baptized?
I was like 14.
14?
Yeah, I was 14. And decades later, I was like, oh. There was a real conversion that started taking place. And this is after I became a pastor. So, yeah.
I think most young people don't mature enough to understand what's going on until they're in their early 20s, maybe even mid-20s.
But what happens if we wait until then?
Huh?
What happens if we wait until then?
It's a lot harder to make that stand.
Accountability.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
And
we haven't
everybody's
messed up with baptism. I
accountability
think
is
we've
different.
messed up with discipleship.
Pardon?
I don't think we've messed up with baptism. I think we've messed up with discipleship.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have good discipleship structures. Like, for example, I think we're discipling each other right now. Like, we're considering. Like, Marty's over there grinding, like. It's it. But then talking about it later on, that's discipleship. And being like, checking in with a person is like, are you okay? Are you wanting to do what I'm doing? That's what discipleship is. Are you okay with me asking you to do what I'm doing? Right? And I don't know. I think we do a supremely bad job with that. We just assume that people are just going to pick it up or they're just going to want to. Jesus came and called them, right? And it wasn't salvation he was calling them to.
I think that there's been so much in our church of saying, you're talking to me and look what you're doing, pointing the finger, that we don't
That's a
feel
fun one.
safe. We don't feel safe in suggesting or even encouraging anybody else because they're going to turn it around and you got a lot to say.
Right. And then come nominating committee time, everybody's like, oh, not me, not me. And we don't have a good pool of people to draw from because we haven't been doing discipleship. So you're never going to have volunteers. You're never going to have all these other things. And so I struggle with this. I struggle with this mightily because, especially when people say, hey, I'm doing a good job or whatever, I'm just like, in my head, that's the ultimate bar. The ultimate bar is how many disciples are we making? Not how many converts, not how many people we're baptizing, how many disciples are we making, right? Because it's truly what Jesus called us to do, right? That the last words is like, go ye therefore and make disciples of all nations. Then it says baptism. Then it says baptism. Let me just super highlight that, all right? Make disciples, then baptism, then teach all of the things I have commanded you to do.
So the definition of disciple is?
A person who follows another person. A follower. A committed follower. So you're asking for committed followership before you even baptize, right? And there's got to be something exciting and attractive to follow, right? Because by the way, back then, this is really upside down because Jesus was doing the opposite. The disciples would usually go and look for the rabbi, look for the master. The rabbi would never go out and invite people to follow him. Right? So he was flipping the script even back then. He went and asked. So I think it's incumbent upon us to go and ask people. And what you said, man, that just preys on everybody's fears, right? Because If we think that, I don't know if you think that, but like if we think that about other people and we assume that they're going to think that when we go and ask them, man, it's going to stop a lot of us from asking another person to disciple under us, right? Let's even add the family component to the mix, right? When we assume that, oh, well, we can't disciple other people unless we got our family under control or everything's working well with all of our closest. Jesus' family wasn't super happy with him. He told them, hey, we're going to leave. And it's a crazy model, guys. It's a crazy thing. So I just want to challenge you with that. I think it's important. I'm just going to read the little last part, the theological insight for us to share with people. Grace is inseparable from union with Christ. Salvation is not merely forgiveness, but relocation from sin's realm to Christ's reign. Paul's questions of will we continue in sin, it's using language of staying put, not a momentary stumble, right? But treating sin like a residence. We're switching the house, right? Paul answers with directional baptism language. We're baptized into Jesus, into his death, meaning grace doesn't just adjust our behavior, it moves your life into the new realm with Jesus as Lord. So he's our master, and I'm his disciple now. So grace, the summary is grace confronts false conclusions by redefining who believers are in Jesus. Right? Agree or disagree? It redefines who we are as believers. Right? And I choose to believe that we need to graduate people from believers to disciples. That's my highest challenge as a minister here. Just graduating people to that. I'm happy baptizing 500, 5,000 people. That's amazing experience if God willing that happens. But I'm way more interested in the other thing. Because the other thing, that's where the exponential growth actually happens. Right? Truly understanding this and saying, hey, let's call to action everybody else. Not for salvation's sake, but because, did the disciples still struggle with their understanding of who Jesus was and salvation and all that other stuff? Mightily. Anyway. Let's continue praying for people that right now are going through it. There's some church members that we're actively praying for. They're going through a pretty terrible, tough time right now. And then people out there in the cold. I went and helped out somebody today and was, oof.
My grandson is in the emergency room right now with a temperature of 105.
Oh!
So,
Which?
Tag.
Tag is 105. Oh my.
So, do you remember him?
Absolutely. Well, let me know if I need to go.
They're on their way
Back.
to the hospital
Or-
when I came in. So,
Well, let me know. I like to visit people.
and the gentleman that was killed in the car accident Monday morning, hit
Okay.
the back of a semi. His
Oh, my.
wife was my water aerobics instructor,
Oh.
and so
Oh, my.
Lindsay is needing some prayers and
Oh
support.
my.
Coping
Yeah.
with the-
Praying for the country too. Now that I'm fully American. So. Yeah.
My aunt, she's stage 4 cancer, so
Oh,
she's
yeah.
still dealing with that. Her name's
Very good.
Carolyn, so.
Carolyn. Okay. Very good.
We need to keep my friends that are in Oregon.
Yes.
Her husband is got asthma and type 2 diabetes.
For sure.
He was put in the hospital with an asthma attack.
Okay.
In and out for 33 days, and he just got it under control.
Oh man. Being in hospital is not a fun time, and so want to remember Warren and the Cowgill family. It's a tough situation there.
How's Cliff doing?
I don't know if he's watching or not. He's probably watching. Probably upset because he can't move around. But yeah, I think he's blessed with the outcome. But yeah, we continue to pray for healing, quick quick healing. But yeah, absolutely. Charles, would you mind praying for us?
Yeah.
Look at me doing discipleship. That's crazy.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this study tonight on your word. Help us to understand and comprehend it. We pray for all of our sick relatives and family members and church members, that you bless them and help them through their time of trial and need. And we thank you for our pastor who leads out and teaches us better ways and ways to live. We ask this all in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. All right. For everybody watching, we'll see you next week. We're going to be probably covering, I believe, Romans chapter 6, verses 4 through 7. I could be wrong.
Yes.
And no, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. Excellent. We'll see you next week. God bless you guys.